What troubles you?
I need to make a confession.
I'm no priest, but tell me what you've done. It's probably nothing to worry about.
I'm here in the monastery looking for a thief. He had a hand in burning down the Neuhof stud.
You don't say. And who are you to take such an interest?
Someone whose job it is to investigate the case, find the perpetrators and make sure they get the punishment they deserve.
Punishment? Do you intend to punish them here, in the monastery?
I don't know yet. I'm still just on their trail. Perhaps you could help me find him?
The missing thief? If I knew anything, I'd tell you, but I suppose it must be one of the novices. I've only recently heard about the Neuhof incident. Nor the other brethren have been here much longer than that.
I know. Aside from me, there are only 4 novices, but still I don't know which one he could be.
3? Please, leave me out of it. And you're right that it could be any one of them. No one knows anything about Lukas. Siskin might be a lot of things, but a monk isn't one of them. And Yodok is a slimy worm. It wouldn't surprise me if he was behind that massacre. Actually, the more I think about it, the less I like that Yodok. He's a treacherous rat who'd do anything to get in someone's good books. The thought of Yodok at Neuhof sends chills up my spine.
Maybe you're right. It's not a pretty thought. Thanks for your help, and please don't say a word to anyone.
Don't fret, my friend. Your secrets are locked inside my lips.
In a rush to pray?
Their weakness must be taken into consideration by the abbot. The rule of Saint Benedict, readings on humility. The first degree of humility is obedience without delay. This is the virtue of those who hold nothing dearer to them than Christ, who, because of the holy service they have professed, and the fear of hell and the glory of life everlasting, as soon as anything has been ordered by the superior, receive it as a divine command and cannot suffer any
Praise be to
delay
Christ,
in
brother.
executing it. But this very obedience will be acceptable to God and pleasing to men only if what is commanded is done without hesitation. Delay, lukewarmness, grumbling, or objection. For the obedience given
Brother,
to
I've a
superior
favor
is
to
given
ask,
God.
and I think you're the man to help me with it. Or you used to be,
Not
before you came
necessarily
here.
with lips, but
I
simply
see.
in
So
heart.
it's the dodgy sort of favor, is it?
Command, yet
Well,
his
yes.
words will not be
I need to
accepted
get hold
by
of the
God.
keys to the monastery.
Sees that his heart is murmuring,
That won't be easy,
and
I can
far
tell you
from
that straight
gaining
off.
a reward for such
The
work
prior
as this,
always
he will
keeps the
incur the
keys
punishment
close
of
by him.
murmurers
So how
unless
exactly
he
do you
will
imagine
give
I could help?
satisfaction. The rule of Saint Benedict, readings on daily manual labor.
How could I get hold of
Idleness,
them?
enemy of the soul.
With
Therefore,
great
the brethren
difficulty.
should be occupied at certain
Unless
times
you
in
want to
manual
rob the
labor,
prior.
and again at fixed hours in sacred reading. To that end, we think that the time
Is there any other way to get out of here?
The door out of the monastery is like any other. Only the lock's more complicated than most. But I can sell you some lock picks. And with a little training, you'll make short work of
From
it.
the 4th hour until about the 6th, let them apply themselves to reading. After the 6th hour, having left the table, let them rest on their beds.
Could you take the keys off him?
Or if
Rob
anyone may
the
perhaps
prior?
wish to read,
You've got to be
read
joking.
himself in such
You
a
wouldn't
way
be
as
doing
not
it for
to
free?
disturb anyone
Then
else.
what could you possibly
None
pay
of
me?
us said, rather
I'm
err
done with my thieving, and you'd have to offer me a whole lot of groschen to change my mind.
done until Vespers. Weak or sickly brethren should be assigned a task or craft of such a nature as to keep them from idleness and at the same time not to overburden them or drive drive them away.
How much would you want?
Their weakness
A
must be
princely
taken into
sum,
consideration
brother.
by the abbot.
This is no trifling matter.
The rule of Saint Benedict. Readings on the spirit
I
of
see.
silence. Let us do
Will
what
this
the
do?
prophet says.
By the relics of
I
Saint
said,
Procopius,
I will guard
where
my
did you
ways,
get
that I
all
may
that?
not sin with my tongue.
And a
I have
promise is a
cigars
promise?
in my mouth.
Give me that, and I'll get the keys to get you out.
Kept silence even from good things. Here the prophet
There you
shows
go.
that the spirit of silence ought to
Come back in a
teach us
couple of days.
sometimes to refrain even
I
from
won't manage to
deceit.
get the keys before that.
So much the more ought the punishment for sin make us avoid evil words. Therefore, since the spirit of silence is so important, permission to speak should rarely be granted even to perfect disciples, even though it be for good, holy, edifying conversation. For it is written, in much speaking you will not escape sin. And in another place, death and life are in the power of the tongue. For speaking and teaching belong to the master. The disciples' part is to be silent and to listen. And for that reason, if anything has to be asked of the superior, it should be asked with all the humility and submission inspired by reverence. But as for coarse jests and idle words, or words that move to laughter, these we condemn everywhere with a perpetual ban. And for such conversation we do not permit a disciple to open his mouth. The rule of Saint Benedict. Readings on the abbot. Therefore, when anyone receives the name of abbot, he ought to govern his disciples with a twofold teaching. That is to say, he should show them all that is good and holy, by his deeds even more than by his words, expounding the Lord's commandments in words to the intelligent among his disciples, but demonstrating the divine precepts by his actions for those of harder hearts and ruder minds. The abbot should always remember what he is and what he is called, and should know that to whom more is committed, from him more is required. Let him make no distinction of persons in the monastery. Let him not love one more than another, unless it be one whom he finds better in good works or in obedience. And let him not shut his eyes to the faults of offenders, but, since he has the authority, let him cut out those faults by the roots as soon as they begin to appear. Remembering the fate of Heli, the priest of silence. The well-disposed and those of good understanding, let him correct with verbal admonition the first and second time. But bold, hard, proud, and disobedient characters he should curb at the very beginning of their ill-doing by stripes and other bodily punishments, knowing that it is written, the fool is not corrected with words. And again, beat your son with the rod, and you will deliver his soul from death. The rule of Saint Benedict. Readings on daily manual labor. Idleness.
I'm a new brother, a novice, Gregor. I don't know my way around here yet. You're in charge of the whole monastery, aren't you?
Welcome amongst us. Yes, yes. The Lord wanted me to take over the abbot's duties in his absence, but mainly I'm a servant of God, just like you and all the other brethren. Before God, there's no difference between us. How do you like it here?
It's wonderful here.
I'm glad to hear it. May your enthusiasm last.
Teaching belong to the master.
Watch your step, brother.
The disciple's part is to be silent and to listen. And for that reason, if anything has to be asked of the superior, it should be asked with all the humility and submission inspired by reverence. But as for coarse jests and idle words, or words that move to laughter, these we condemn everywhere with a perpetual ban. And for such conversation we do not permit a disciple to open his mouth. The rule of Saint Benedict. Readings on daily manual labor. Idleness is the enemy of the soul. Therefore, the brethren should be occupied at certain times in manual labor, and again at fixed hours in sacred reading. To that end, we think that the times for each may be prescribed as follows. From Easter until the calends of October. When they come out from prime in the morning, let them labor at whatever is necessary until about the 4th hour. And from the 4th hour until about the 6th, let them apply themselves to reading. After the 6th hour, having left the table, let them rest on their beds in perfect silence, or if anyone may perhaps want to read, let him read to himself in such a way as not to disturb anyone else. Let none be said rather early, at the middle of the 8th hour, and let them again do what work has to be done until vespers. Weak or sickly brethren should be assigned a task or craft of such a nature as to keep them from idleness, and at the same time not to overburden them or drive them away with excessive toil. Their weakness must be taken into consideration by the abbot. The rule of Saint Benedict, readings on the spirit of silence. Let us do what the prophet says. I said, I will guard my ways, that I may not sin with my tongue. I have set a guard to my mouth. I was mute and was humbled and kept silence even from good things. Here the prophet shows that if the spirit of silence ought to lead us at times to refrain even from good speech, so much the more ought the punishment for sin make us avoid evil words. Therefore, since the spirit of
Praise be to
silence
Christ,
is so
brother.
important, permission to speak should rarely be granted even
Do you
to
have the
perfect
keys yet?
silence, even though it be for good.
What, you think it's that easy? I need more time.
In much speaking,
Come back
you will
tomorrow.
not escape sin. And in another place, death and life
You have some
are in the
interesting
power
skills
of the
for a
tongue.
monk.
For speaking
Don't
and
suppose you want to
teaching
tell me how you
belong
picked
to
them
the
up?
master. The disciples
What's
of
there to
God
tell?
must be silent to
We were
listen.
all young and foolish once. I was a student in Prague, completely broke, living from hand to mouth and studying all day. It wasn't an easy life.
So you turned to stealing.
I set about securing a livelihood as best I could. A goose, some new shoes, a bit of coin to spend with my friends. Without that little bit extra, I'd never have completed my studies. I would have turned into a beggar. And who else do you know that can say he's serving God thanks to having been a thief?
No one, brother. Thank you for telling me your story.
I have set a guard to my mouth. I was mute and was humbled and kept silence even from good things. Here the prophet shows that if the spirit of silence ought to lead us at times to refrain even from good speech, so much the more ought the punishment for sin make us avoid evil words. Therefore, since the spirit of silence is so important, permission to speak should rarely be granted even to perfect disciples, even though it be for good, holy, edifying conversation. For it is written, in much speaking you will not escape sin. And in another place, death and life are in the power of the tongue. For speaking and teaching belong to the master. The disciples' part is to be silent, to listen. And for that reason, if anything has to be asked of the superior, it should be asked with all the humility and submission inspired by reverence. But as for coarse jests and idle words, or words that move to laughter, these we condemn everywhere with a perpetual ban. And for such conversation we do not permit a disciple to open his mouth. The rule of Saint Benedict, readings on humility. The first degree of humility is obedience without delay. This is the virtue of those who hold nothing dearer to them than Christ, who, because of the holy service they have professed, and the fear of hell and the glory of life everlasting, as soon as anything has been ordered by the superior, receive it as a divine command and cannot suffer any delay in executing it. But this very obedience will be acceptable to God and pleasing to men only if what is commanded is done without hesitation. Delay, lukewarmness, grumbling, or objection. For the obedience given to superiors is given to God. For if the disciple obeys with an ill will and murmurs, not necessarily with his lips, but simply in his heart, then even though he fulfills the command, yet his work will not be acceptable to God, who sees that his heart is murmuring. And far from gaining a reward for such work as this, he will incur the punishment due to murmurers, unless he amend and make satisfaction.
It's a mystery. check everyone's breath in the morning. Then he'd soon get his medal.
Things will get worse. I feel it in my joints. My joints started aching just before they raised.
You've got a strong constitution. Anyone else would have certainly died.
What happened?
Let me tell you a little story. Once upon a time, there was a young boy. He was lost and miserable. He had no future. He was tempted by his friends into doing some foolish things. But he wasn't truly bad, because when it came down to it, he ran away rather than keep doing foolish deeds. His former friends didn't take kindly to that, though, and wanted to punish him. So they sent a hunting dog to find him and rip his throat. The boy wasn't stupid, though, and he knew that the hound was coming. He poisoned some food, and when the hound showed up, he gave it to him. He didn't expect the beast to live, but it did. And all of a sudden the boy was sorry for what he tried to do. So he offered to make a bargain with the hound.
It was you that poisoned me.
Don't take it personally. Kill or be killed. You know, we're both pawns in someone else's game. They have plans for us, but we don't have to let them use us. We can just forget all about it and go our own way. I was a bandit, and I was at Nyhoff. I've robbed and stolen, but I swear to God I've never in my life slain innocent people. What I saw at Nyhoff made me realize my life was worth shit, but I still had a chance to change for the better. Here in the monastery I've had plenty of time to think things over, but then you showed up and fucked it all up.
So the evildoer changes his ways and finds God. And what exactly are you proposing?
Both of us can leave this place. You can go back to your people, and I can go somewhere where I can live out my life in peace, and no one will try to kill me. If we work together, we can both get what we want.
You're right. But the people who sent me will find out if I don't kill you.
They won't if we're clever about it. No one has to die. Before we make a run for it, we'll make it look like someone's killed me. Loads of blood, a tattered scrap of my habit, and footprints leading towards the river. No one will bother looking for my body there. There we'll split up. You go for your bounty, and I'll get as far away from here as I can.
Good. Let's do it your way.
Good. I'm glad that despite our initial discord, we could reach an agreement. Here, take something to calm your stomach. Now we'll need the keys to the monastery and some blood to make the tracks.
And where am I supposed to get my hands on blood in a monastery?
You'll find a parchment in the kitchen with a list of ingredients on it, all the things they're ordering. Add blood for making soup to the list, and when it's delivered the next day, take it before anyone notices it's even come.
What are you going to do?
I need to get ready for a long journey. Prepare supplies, get some normal clothing somehow, that sort of thing. You can escape in that habit, but I need to vanish as fast as I can.
What do I need the keys to the monastery for?
How else will we get out? This place is practically a prison.
Getting the keys won't be easy.
I know, but Brother Solarius is a reformed thief. I'll bet he still has a few lockpicks lying about. If you know how to use them, they'll be worth finding. Or there's the hard way. Steal the keys from the prior. He carries them with him at all times.
They both sound hard to me. But needs must. Alright, that's everything I need to know. I can get started.
Excellent. Come and see me once you have everything. And try to be as fast as you can. And Gregor, thank you.
That would sound more sincere if you hadn't just tried to kill me.
That's why I'm thanking you. For being so reasonable despite what I did. For what it's worth, I'm glad the poison didn't kill you. And we can both come through this alive if we work together.